Hello, everyone, and welcome back to part 15 of 21. After the candidate we cover tonight, it will be almost exclusively only the top tier of candidates from here on out. We will have a candidate who you really wouldn't consider top tier that we will have to cover, but that is just by the nature of the time when that candidate dropped out. So we will cover that candidate and discuss that candidate when we get there. And I expect possibly some negative comments when we cover that candidate because that candidate has some interesting supporters that are surprising. But this candidate is a candidate I've been wanting to cover for a while because of the extremely, in the end, enduring nature of their candidacy. And I will discuss that aspect of it. Andrew Yang, the entrepreneur from New York, who entered the race on November 6, 2017, and exited the race on February 11th, 2020. He exited the race on the same day that Michael Bennet did, and the reason that I am covering him first is because I covered Bennet first and Yang second is because B comes before Y. I just did it by their last names, so no sign of disrespect to Andrew Yang. And this is what I wrote. Only in the age of Donald Trump can a candidate like Andrew Yang attract enough attention to gain access to the debate stage and attract a loyal following. His Yang Gang is one of the more interesting fascinations of this campaign season. A campaign born totally online. Yang, a tech millionaire and virtual unknown before his run, is running a campaign based on giving every American $1,000 a month, non-tax, to do whatever they please with. He is also talking about the advance of AI and argues that we are on the cusp of the fourth industrial revolution, and workers better be ready for that change. Bottom line, Yang has shown he is well geared toward events like one of this nature. He will perform well. His message of universal basic income might resonate with many Americans in a time of vast income inequality, yet historically low unemployment. So, on that note, that last part, I realize that as I am recording this video, and a little peek behind the curtain here, I am recording this a day ahead of time before it will release, so I'm recording this on June 10th, 2020. I realize that in a year, the tables on unemployment in this country have drastically changed. We have levels of unemployment in this country currently that have not been seen since the Great Depression. I get it. But when I wrote this, there was historically low unemployment. America was at full employment. But the vast income inequality that has only become more profound was still a real topic of discussion and something to be concerned about. And only unserious people were not concerned about it. I think Yang's $1,000 a month ideal, in a way, in a test scenario, may make sense. You give Americans $1,000 a month tax-free adults to do as they please with, and you could send them out how they did the stimulus checks or your tax refund every year if you pay too much in taxes and you get a refund from the IRS. If you overpay them through the year. The hope is that they put it into consumer spending. They go out and they make that purchase they've been unable to make. Or they pay those bills that may have been harder to pay. They pay off that student loan debt. They pay off that credit card bill that's hanging over them. And they're able to move up on the ladder. Or it takes the burden off somewhat. They are able to say, I do not have to worry now if I need a new set of tires on my car. Or whatever. I have this $1,000. I can put a new set of tires on the car instead of riding around on bald tires. I get for a lot of Americans, that is questions that occur. You also are going to have people that get that check and they are going to go out and they are going to absolutely blow every last cent of it. That happens all the time. You'll have people that go spend it at a casino and lose every penny of it. You will have people that go out and just make horrible financial decisions with it. But people do that with their paycheck to begin with. This is saying, here's $1,000, do with it as you please. You'll also get people that put it into savings. And while for them that may seem like a financially responsible thing to do, that's not the intent of the checks. The intent is to pump it into the economy and get the economy humming. You also will get people that invested in the stock market. And while some may make wise and smart investments, you will get some that make horrible investments and inflate stocks that shouldn't be inflated up to just a massively overvalued stock, and then you'll have a bubble bursting effect. So, while I generally think in some ways this could be a good idea, I think there might need to be some restrictions on it, like serious. But hey, and I know people are going to be like, oh, this is a liberal ideal, this is a total communist plot. No sir. UBI was actually once proposed by Richard Nixon, who, the last time I checked, was not a communist and was not a socialist. He was a Republican and was president, and actually probably, you may debate someone else, but is probably the last big government president this country's had. Just saying. Nixon, he passed some big government legislation. Also, I think that you're going to be shocked when you hear this part. It was a proposal of the Heritage Foundation, which is not a liberal think tank at all. It is actually the most conservative think tank in Washington, D.C., the Heritage Foundation. So, it does have some supporters on the conservative right. Of course, also the Heritage Foundation did originally come up with the proposal that eventually became Obamacare, but now that's nowhere to be found. So, also, like I said, Yang's support grew totally online. It was an organic campaign. He had the Yang Gang. During the campaign on Twitter, I followed a lot of accounts linked to candidates, and I had a ton of Yang Gang accounts that I followed, and boy, did they blow your timeline up. I remember on the night that Andrew Yang announced he was dropping out, I unfollowed a bunch of Yang Gang accounts. But I continued to follow Mr. Yang, and I see the great work that they're doing in the COVID response, and I think that's a great thing. His campaign really built up a community around his supporters, and that is a positive thing. I am always happy and proud to see people get passionate and involved about politics. That is always something very heartening to me. It's one thing that I hope really comes out of. I hope many things that come out of the Black Lives Matter protests against police brutality we're seeing. But the biggest thing is that the young people out there marching and fighting, who will be 18 on election day, not just this year, but in the years to come, will get registered to vote and find themselves inside of a polling booth and making that ultimate choice about the direction this country goes in with the power of their vote. Because if they turn out in large numbers, they can change the trajectory of this country in a massive way. I met a young man the other day that was organizing unfortunately, because of bigotry and online lies, he had to cancel his march in our local area. And I saw him being interviewed, and I told him I really appreciated what he was doing, and I said, make sure that the young people that are marching with you get registered to vote. And in November, make your voices heard. Vote. Be the change. Vote the change. And that is one thing that I hope really comes out of the Yang Gang movement, is that these people who may have felt cut off from the political system in the past turn out in a positive way. And there is an appetite out there for this type of change. We saw it manifest itself in the form of the current occupant of the White House in 2016. And like I said, Yang's support grew totally online. He was a virtual unknown before this race, but through perseverance and going out and meeting voters and engaging with anybody that would listen, Andrew Yang attracted donors, he attracted polling attention, and got on the debate stage, and was even there in the end. And that's the most amazing part to me. I hope y'all all have a great day and a great tomorrow. I'll see you then.